How's it going, everyone? My name's Dylan Walker with Yahoo Esports. So I want to talk to both of you specifically about the curse of Astralis. What is going on? They just lost their match against NIP in the semifinals, which is something they've been known to do in the semifinals at pretty much every tournament.
Launders, you casted it. Just jump right in.
Yeah, it was crazy. There's a lot of emotions, okay, because they went to 3 maps, and, you know, I'm mentally checking out at this point because it's 13-8 for Astralis on Cobble. I'm like, they have been choking all year long, and there's absolutely no way that Astralis will blow this, right? NIP had an 8-1 lead to start off. Astralis with 12 rounds in a row. They're 3 away from just closing it out, winning a semifinal, getting to a final for once, and then NIP call a pause, and then I don't know what happened. The power of the pause, nip magic, maybe all of the above. They just come back round after round, and it ends 16-14, and NIP win, and, you know, Astralis are just in shambles. And it's so crazy to see that from like a sports psychology perspective, because it's really hard to identify as someone watching from a third person perspective what could possibly cause that.
Yeah, it has to be a mentality thing, right?
Yeah.
Well, from my perspective, I don't know the exact numbers, but NIP's record in Sweden has got to be pretty good. They always seem to take control. At some point, the crowd go crazy for them every time they play. In the final now, that exact thing is happening. And so credit to them, too, for being able to pull it back. But I agree totally with Launders. I know the Astralis guys pretty well. Like, a couple of them are good friends of mine. I'm not even sure if they're completely clued up on the reasons why what happens.
You've talked to Device many times, right? And it's like, if you ask them, I've interviewed Kerrigan as well and asked them specifically about it, and they hate talking about it. They hate calling it choking, right? But it just keeps happening, right? And it's always at the semifinals. It's got to be this mental block, but it's so weird because it's not even like apparent to themselves, you know?
Yeah.
It's just quickly, it's funny because it's like they take it well but badly at the same time. Were you in the green? No, you weren't in the green room because you casted that game, but literally after that game ended, Dupree poked his head in the green room and went like, they're completely aware of what's going on, but they're not aware maybe necessarily of why it's happening.
Well, let's also talk about NIP Magic. Like, is that a real thing?
What's your opinion on it?
I think it's amazing that you can be down that much in such a high-pressure situation, could basically lose the game and no one would be really mad at you. And it's just like overall already kind of thing. And then to come round after round, make no mistakes, you know, get the opening frag, stick to the game plan, figure out what your opponents are doing, and then stage a win. They do it so often. Yeah. They do it so often.
I think the introduction of Threat might have helped them a lot because there was that period that they weren't really achieving what they could, and they got Pit in now and Threat, and it seems to be like quite a good combo.
It's the coaching era, right? Everyone's getting a 6-man now. People who don't have it clearly suffer from it. Mousport have 2 analysts, a coach on top of that. I know it's like very common, like League of Legends, where you have like 6 analysts for a top
support,
team.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it makes a big difference. If everybody adds, you know, 3% to the entire team, it still makes a big difference when you have 2 teams that study each other, practice against each other all the time, play countless games, and it comes down to just pistols or just 1 or 2 mistakes every round.
I think there is going to be a point that we reach in CS where every team, pretty much all the top tier teams, are going to have a coach or some sort of team around them, because we are essentially at this point, you know, the teams are forming themselves in a way that's very similar to the traditional sports, where you have massive teams behind the main team. And I think the results of the teams that have that structure at the moment is starting to show that it's kind of the future. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Yeah, it's an every little bit type of situation, right?
I would agree. I mean, it's like the top 5 teams in Counter-Strike can pretty much take games off each other all the time. So, I mean, depending on the maps. And it's like adding a coach in there, just that little extra push, you know? I don't know.
It even depends on what kind of role the coach has. For instance, LG, technically best at the moment in the world, or they're current champions of the MLG major. Fallen is the IGL. He's the guy that calls all the shots, but they have Zeus behind them, and he does give important decisions here and there. If you ask them about it, he won't necessarily be the full-on, like, I think Threat, who has complete control over the game, or if I'm wrong about that, there are teams that function like that. Yeah. You'll see this other style of like LG and maybe other teams that have coaches that kind of just give a bit of input here and there, and I just think it's important.
Yeah, and all the live stuff is like, you know, 10 or 20% of it, right? But all of the time that they spend goes into practice, and it's really the tip of the iceberg to see what they do in a live match, you know? All the stuff behind the scenes, and also just like managing emotions, right? One of the values of a coach is that they can go to each player and say, no, this is what you did wrong. Whereas if it's 2 people playing and one of them is trying to displace blame off themselves, right? Then there'll be a heated argument that has like false foundation. But if a coach does it, they're really impartial, right? They just be like, I'd want to win the round. I just want to win the round. So you did something wrong. You did something wrong.
Yeah,
that's an invaluable asset.
It's good to be that brutally honest. It feels like someone who is a coach has to be someone that you respect, like personally. Otherwise, it's really hard to take criticism from. And it's cool because you see threat. And he played with them at the major. They still got top 8. You know what I mean? Like obviously, this guy knows what he's talking about.
Yeah. That's totally relevant as well. If you have a coach and they aren't like themselves relevant in the game, like do you feel like that? It's hard to respect them. First of all, they have to understand the meta of CS:GO, and sometimes that means having played it as well, being a pro yourself.
Yeah, I completely agree that the coach has to be a figure that everyone in the team respects, and maybe that is a drawback for some of the players who don't want to have a coach because they want to have that complete control. And is there some ego playing into that? They don't want to release, they don't want to let it go that it is useful and it will make them better to have someone else.
Yeah. Interesting. We'll remain open-minded. Thank you guys for discussing this with me. For everyone else, this is Yahoo Esports.